Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Brian and today we're coming back with yet another amazing video from my friends out in Poland. So welcome back to American Reacts to Geography Now, Poland. Several of you guys have been requesting this video for such a long time, and thankfully the amazing people over at Geography Now finally put it out. If you would like to check out the original video, it's going to be linked down below in the description box. But I also wanted to give you guys a tremendous thank you for all the incredible support you guys have been showing for Polish Music Part 5. If you have not seen that video, it will also be linked down below next to some of my social media pages. So let's go right ahead and let's dive right in. By the way, my friends, we recently updated our Patreon page with some amazing perks and better price points. Check it out if you haven't already. I should have a card above me at this time. If not, check it out in the description box. Let's go right ahead and let's dive right in.
Alright, we've reached Poland. Europe's, how can I put this? Poland knows how to take a hit. It's like...
Poland's on steroids.
Is that all you got? I'm not even breaking a sweat, f***ers.
The freaking passion, my friend.
Geography. No!
Anyway, hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Welcome to the Wolverine of Europe. The Poles know how to deal with calamity, and if there was ever a mutant apocalypse, you would probably want one on your team. In any case, let's begin.
I could totally see that. I could understand why.
Here are some places of interest you guys, the Polish geography, suggested we mention this episode. They have quite a few UNESCO heritage sites. A lot of them are like chapels, the Holy Mountain of Gabarka, the painted village of Zalipy, Chopin's Heart, this rock city, the Upside Down House, Kościuszko Mound, the Carrot House, the world's most narrow house. Tons of cool statues and monuments like these, the world's tallest Pope statue, tons of World War II sites. It's kind of what they're known for, with the most famous one probably being the Auschwitz concentration camp. Of course, there are way too many
I have a friend that lives by there, actually.
This one was where all the former kings were coronated. And of course, there's Warsaw's St. John's Cathedral. There's a bunch of synagogues that actually survived World War II. And there's even a wooden mosque for the Tatar minority in Kruszyniany. There's so many museums and galleries. Here's a bunch of notable ones. And too many castles, but they're very proud of having the world's largest medieval castle in Malbork.
The country is located in Central Europe and bordered by 7 other countries. Keep in mind this little guy right here is a detached exclave of Russia called Kaliningrad. Speaking of which, we already mentioned this in the Germany episode, but Poland shares an island called Uzedom, or Uznam, with Germany in this lagoon. The borders follow some natural boundaries like rivers and mountains, however most of them were agreed upon after war times. The country is divided into 16 voivodeships, or provinces, the capital and largest city of the country, Warsaw, in the center. It also holds the busiest airport, Warsaw International. From there, the second largest city is Krakow, known as the medieval capital.
I can't wait to go to Poland,
man. The second largest airport, John Paul II Krakow International. And rounding out for third place
the older
is the city of
Krakow,
which means boat, nearly in the center of the whole country. Nonetheless, the city of Gdansk holds the third largest airport, Gdansk International, and also the busiest shipping port located on the Baltic Sea, where much of the cargo comes into the country. Otherwise, their entire sea access is confined to the coastline. They do not own any distant islands in the Baltic. Due to the general flat landscape making much of the north and central parts, Poland is a bustling transport hub with numerous roadways that traverse every single corner into every neighboring nation. Since joining the EU, nearly 2 billion euros have been invested in Poland's rail lines, and high-speed lines are being constructed today.
Nice.
Poland doesn't have any autonomous areas, but if we had to discuss historical and cultural regions, many people may just refer to this general area as Masuria, sometimes even historical Prussia. This general area is Pomerania, that's right, same as the dog, which is where it comes from, and the coastal area is Kashubia, where the Kashubians are mostly found. There's Greater Poland, Lesser Poland, which at the very border has Ruthenia, or Red Ruthenia. Parts of the south are considered Silesia, which are inhabited by peoples that have their own distinct culture apart from the Polish. It's all kind of confusing, and we'll talk more about it later.
Poland does not fall short when it comes to sights to see, or things to do, or nature to explore. And that means we move on to the next segment, It is said that the name Poland comes from Polani, which means people living in open fields. Poland is not all flat and not all plains.
So
there's much more to it than you think.
Poland is generally divided into 5 physical regions: the coast, the lakelands, the Polish plain, the Polish uplands, and the mountain regions. Much of Poland's coast along the Baltic Sea is straight until you hit the east and you get these interesting natural formations called spits. We've already talked about them in the Lithuania episode, but basically, spits are thin, narrow sandbanks that divide the sea from another body of water, creating saltwater lagoons, the largest one being the Bay of of Puck, the Szczecin, and the Vistula Lagoon, shared with Russia's Kaliningrad.
I will try not to
exclave.
say
Much
the
of the
name of
country
that lake.
inland
The
lies on the
first
flat
one.
Polish plain, part of the greater North European plain, a huge open flat segment of Central Europe that extends across multiple countries. Many people say that this is both the blessing and curse of Poland, because although a third of the country is forested, this one being the largest national park, and about a third is arable, making them a powerhouse contributor to Europe's agriculture sector, it did kind of make it easy for outside forces to enter and invade, with little or no natural obstacles barricading the interior of the country. Anyway, within this plain, many rivers like the Notek, the Varta, and the longest river, the Vistula, meander through the fertile valleys, passing through many important cities like Warsaw. In the north side, you have two massive lake districts, the Pomeranian and the larger Masurian, which also holds the largest lake of the country, Lake Śniadwy. The further south you go, the higher the elevation gets until you hit the Poland uplands. A little further south on the border with the Czech Republic and Slovakia, you find the two main and largest mountain chains, the Sudets and the Beskids, which form the north part of the larger famous Carpathian mountain chain. Here you can also find the tallest peak, Mount Risse, right on the border of Slovakia.
Alright, and that just about does it. Now I need my triple shot of espresso break, and this time Art is going to come in to finish off the physical geography
Steroids
section.
is bad.
What do you want me to say, Barbie?
The next thing on the teleprompter.
Now, as you can see by this point, Poland has a lot more than just flat plains and lakes. They even have moving sand dunes in the north and a small desert in Boyenduf, which literally translates to mistakes. Yeah, Poland, deserts. You'd never think those two would go together, right? Oh,
yeah.
And there's also a crooked forest made up of trees that bend at a 90-degree angle. Many people have theories as to how it got that way. Some say it's natural. Some say it was a dude trying to make chairs. In
Regardless
any case,
of the fact
Poland
that it's
is
so
a major
freaking
producer
cool.
of apples, 6th in the world, as well as being the world's largest treacle. What the heck is treacle? And amber exporter. I don't even know what amber is either. What is that? Petrified tree sap?
It actually is.
It is. Whoa! Today, though, Poland's
Damn.
economy is now mainly driven by the service sector and industry, with main products like machinery and cars, buses, and video games being their largest export. Anyway, Poland
No
also has quite a few
way.
endemic animal species like storks,
Video
ridge lynx,
games?
roe deer, and they have one of the largest populations of the rare European bison, which, have you guys ever had a bison burger? I mean, that's like really good. Alright, don't eat those. Those are endangered. And bears.
Oh.
In fact, a bear once served in the Polish army, and there's a statue dedicated to him. Look it up. Good old Wojtek. Anyway, time to finish
Wojtek.
up
Oh
with
my God, you guys had to eat bear
some
in
of
the
the top
military?
Polish dishes. You
That
guys, the
is
Polish
Slavic and hardcore as hell.
peeps.
That's what I call them, Art.
Suggested we mention include things
Doesn't
like
watch the
you
show,
know,
man.
cabbage rolls,
I do,
Polanka pork
Barbie,
knuckle,
I
roasted
do.
duck served with honey and apples. So many soups like these.
I should
but
be
the
on your
national
show.
dish being sour rye soup, and of course the most popular dishes many people have heard of: pierogi, kielbasa, kabanos, and Krakow-style sausage, and bagels. Yes, bagels originated from Poland, from the Polish Jews. Not New York.
But they did move to New York.
Oh, and of course, you cannot talk about Poland without mentioning vodka. Some say it was invented in Poland, some say the Polish just make really good vodka, but either way, vodka usually takes up a huge section in most Polish grocery stores.
I've
I've
seen
seen
a lot
this
of,
guy
like,
in vodka.
Polish vodka, actually.
No, you haven't. That was not Greek whiskey, and we don't talk about that here.
Polish people know what they like. They're a distinct people. Speaking of which, we now move on to...
Thank you, Art.
Thanks. Can I do like one of those special effect outros, like, you know, Wolverine theme? Can I have the
Sure.
claws or something like that?
Sure.
Might as well, you're editing, right?
Is it true if I kill you, I become you?
Let's find out.
Wow. That was actually
Does work.
pretty
Now,
smooth.
some of you guys have told me
That was
in
pretty
Poland,
smooth.
there's kind of like a word that sums up the Polish mindset.
Nice,
Załatwić.
Barbie.
It means something along the lines of accomplishing tasks and taking care of business. Half of everybody in Europe has probably at one point at least encountered a Pole. They're everywhere, working. Polish doctors in Germany, Polish contract workers in London, Polish bus drivers in Iceland. Work is in their blood, and it's a huge part of who they are. The population is about 40 million. However, keep in mind, diaspora-wise, there are about
A
20
really
million
huge
Poles living
amount.
abroad, and they are the second largest Slavic group after Russians. The country is
20
incredibly
million?
homogenous, with about 96% of the population claiming to be Polish, which is part of the Slavic family group. This makeup is mostly due to the Nazi intervention of World War II and Soviet relocation policies
That is
in
the
20th
largest
century
amount
that
of,
drastically
like-
changed the previously diverse population. The country has few minority groups, however,
Wow,
of the
people from
minorities,
actually
the
born
largest
in the
groups would
country.
be the Silesian at about 1.3% and the Kashubians at just under 1%. The rest is mostly made up of other Europeans like Ukrainians, Belarusians, Czechs, and non-Europeans.
Oh,
They use
nice.
the Polish zloty as their currency, they use the type C, E, and F plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. episode. Now, of course, the main language of Poland is, of course, Polish. Lots of people say Polish is, like, really hard to learn. For one, they have seven cases
It's like your cat ran over the keyboard,
consonants
bro.
that are smashed all together at once. Geography Pavel says the Polish language is basically just spoken Wi-Fi passwords. Here's Conrad with a Polish tongue twister.
Książ brzmi w Trzcinie, w Szczebrzeszynie I Szczebrzeszyn z tego słynie.
Sometimes even the Polish people say they have to polish up on their Polish. Otherwise, Poland is kind of a sociological anomaly. Even though they are Slavic, it's kind of like the easternmost extent of Latin influence, which explains why the majority at around 86% identify as either Catholic or, in the very least, nominally Catholic, varying degrees of devotion. Catholicism plays a huge role in Polish culture. They even have a channel dedicated to the Pope on TV. Politically, Poland is usually a more conservative nation that holds to its roots, and even though they're part of the EU, they usually do not let anyone tell them how they should run things in their own country. It's their home, their rules. It's like, all right, so it's settled. What do you think of this proposal for the union, guys?
I hate it.
Now, Poland, you're a key player. We need you to like this.
I still hate it.
Poland, don't be stubborn.
Oh, really, Germany? You want to come back to Poland again and tell us how to do things around here? Do you remember what happened last time? Oh my.
Are you really gonna play this card again?
I always will.
A little exaggerated, but yeah, don't
apologize
push the
in a
Polish.
recent
They've
video
gone through
for
tons
that.
of that. I mean, literally, like a fifth of their population died during World War II. The majority of whom were Polish Jews. Often in tight-knit Yiddish-speaking communities, Poland had one of the highest populations of Jews prior to World War II, and at one point up to 10%.
Wow.
They played a huge historical role in what Poland was and would be. Poles are proud that they were the only European-occupied country to never collaborate with the Nazis. They never officially surrendered,
is so
and all those years
true.
the Nazis were there, the underground army kept fighting. Taking all that heavy stuff in,
Nice.
Polish people have told me there's always kind of like this sense of somber, stoic, suspicious, cynical, yet productive and prudent mentality that encapsulates the Polish. It's a weird paradox when you see them, because it's like...
Ugh, being Polish is the worst. Seriously.
I know, right? I hate Polish sausages. They're so gross.
They are, and the
No, they're
government
not.
is just totally whack.
Yeah, Poland is terrible.
What did you
say?
You can't say that! You're not from here!
Yeah.
Well, that took a little longer than expected, so here's Hannah with culture stuff.
Good to be
Barbie's getting
Polish
really
people have
creative
gone through
recently.
a
I like
lot.
it.
They were pretty much fought for and invaded over 40 times for about 400 years. Nonetheless, the Polish people held through those centuries and retained their sense of identity. For one, in Poland, it is actually just as popular, if not maybe even more, to celebrate
Yes!
name day as well as your birthday.
I love
Poland
names
has
days,
quite
bro.
a high level of
I
tertiary
want one.
educated individuals, with about 80% of the young adult population having enrolled in university. Also, side note, the 35% of Polish people living abroad are referred to as Polonia. There's a contest where we figure out who's the strongest man in the world, and Poland has won the most of those contests. They've also racked up
Congratulations.
quite a few Nobel Peace Prizes at 17. They are frontrunners of innovations and inventions like kerosene and the kerosene lamp, the oil well, the
I used to
bulletproof
sell
vest,
that.
and the modern drug
I was in the
test.
painting
A lot
industry.
of festivals can be found year-round throughout the country and in different regions. Popular ones include All Saints' Day, May Day, the La Cognac Festival in Krakow, and during Christmas you might see the creepy Turon everywhere. To expound a bit more on Polish music and
Turon?
arts, here,
That
you know,
sounds so
Keith,
cool. I
or
want to read
whatever.
into that. Or you guys can leave a
Music
comment
in
down
Poland
below.
goes way back to its ancient Slavic roots. Instruments typically used include things like the wood horn, the hurdy-gurdy, the horse hair drum, the pedal accordion, and the suka.
Oh.
Even though he had spent most of his time in France, Chopin was born in Poland. His
birdie-gurdy, the
homeland was
gurdy-gurdy,
always one of the central themes to his often somber and melancholy masterpieces cherished worldwide. During the Polish National Revival,
Oscar.
this dude collected
Yeah.
varieties of folk music for broadcast, including the most famous ones, these which are still performed to this day. I know that there's this guitar player named Jakub Zychecki, and he is amazing.
Thank you, Keith.
Damn.
Some people, you guys, the
I'll have
Polish
to look
geography
into him.
suggested we mentioned in
I
this
like
episode
rock.
include Pope John Paul II, all these athletes, these directors, all these artists and musicians. The dude from the movie The Pianist was a real guy. These American
yeah.
revolutionaries. And speaking of Americans, John Krasinski, Kristen Bell, Steve Carell, and Roman Polanski are also part Polish. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. And finally, of course, Grzegorz Bręczycki. And there's a lot more I could have mentioned, but that would take way too long. There's a lot of famous Poles
Is
all
that like
over the
some
world.
sort of
They've
inside
left their
joke?
global mark. And speaking of global marks, that brings us to... As As a central player in Europe for a long, complicated history, it's no surprise Poland has picked up quite an entourage over many, many years of Polish existence. For one, as part of the Visegrad group, the Czechs and Slovaks are generally considered the close West Slavic brothers. They've had very few wars and conflicts with them. They understand their languages, kind of. However, they both kind of think the other sounds funny when they talk. For Russians, it's more of like a people versus government thing. As people, Poles and Russians get along quite well on a human level. It's just the governments that often disagree and clash. Poland for a while was under the Iron Curtain and Warsaw Pact, which complicated things even more. But as crazy as things get, there is always kind of like this universal Slavic understanding, which is why Ukraine comes in as a pretty close friend. Ukrainians love to come to Poland for work. There is also a fast-growing Ukrainian community, and they kind of share a similar post-communist struggle alliance, although they still kind of don't like how Ukrainians honor the UPA, which is a whole other story. Poland is kind of like Germany's biggest regret that they have to constantly be reminded of literally every day as they are neighbors, but they are the largest economic partner for them as well. Germany does have many bilateral relations with Poland. It's the 21st century.
I would imagine.
Grown up and moved on, and the future looks bright mostly between the two. Quick note, Lithuania is like the divorced wife that they remember having some of the best years of their history with.
Aww.
Today, when a Pole meets a Lithuanian, they just kind of nod and
friends.
smile, understanding everything the other is thinking without a single word. Their best friend, however, every Pole has told me the same thing: Hungary. Historically, they've shared some of the same monarchs, heroes.
Really?
They've always helped each other in times of need. There are many parks and monuments commemorating the friendship between the two. There's even a saying in Polish: two brothers, both to the saber and the bottle. Thank you, Art, for being in this episode.
Stay tuned. Portugal is coming up next, guys.
Oh my god, that was so freaking incredible. But out of all people, Hungary? That was so freaking amazing. Like, Hungarians are pretty awesome. Like, I've met a couple and they're nothing but sweethearts. So I think that's pretty cool that Poland and Hungary are like this. The thing that absolutely had me stunned about this entire thing was how the population is actually so concentrated in Poland. Like 96% of you guys are Polish. Usually when it comes to most countries, like I'll see usually on average between 8 and 10% of the population is like, you know, a different ethnicity. But you guys know, you guys are down to like the last 4%. That's pretty intense. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I actually have an editor for this channel. She's my better half, actually. You can check out her YouTube channel down below in the description box, but she is actually literally like Polish. Like by mistake, she was born in Latvia, but it was like all her family was Polish. Her name is Borska. Come on. Shout out to her. Check out her YouTube if you haven't already. One thing I had never noticed about Poland is that during World War II, like, they never gave in to Nazi Germany. And on top of that, like, they just kept fighting until the very end, and that was absolutely incredible. I never even realized that until right now that Barbie pointed it out. And last but not least, come on, man, I want a names day. Like, I want to find out what my names day is in every country so I can celebrate it just a little bit more often. But I know when it's the Polish name days, I need to get a birthday gift. Well, my friends, thank you so much for sticking around. It was absolutely incredible checking this out. If you guys were not aware, we have a P.O. box for this channel, so you can send over a handwritten letter, postcard, or anything else in between, including some snacks, right over here. Just please let me know if you send something over. I would love to personally thank you. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for more amazing fun like this. Message me on Instagram if you want to say something. I absolutely love talking with you guys. And stick around. We got more amazing videos at the end of this one. And until next time, my friends, hasta la pasta. And I'll see you guys on the flip side.